Hey there, brother friends and sister friends. Welcome back to the Heart Said Bub podcast in our Nearness series. In our last 2 episodes, we talked about the importance of nearness to God and how the fall created a distance between us and Him, a distance our souls still ache to close. We also explored how quick we are to rush into doing instead of being, and why that human impulse leaves us restless and anxious. So in this episode, we're going to start getting practical. What does it actually look like to be with God in real everyday life? Here's how we'll structure the next few episodes. Each one will focus on a single practice, something you can carry into your daily rhythms. These practices aren't just helpful for managing fear and anxiety. They're healthy practices for life in general, and they're deeply rooted in spiritual living. And at the foundation of all of them are 2 simple things that we need if we want to be near to God: time and space. Time and space both in our outer world, the tangible ways that we live our lives, and in our inner world, the space we make in our hearts, our minds, and our spirits. So in this episode, let's start with the outer world, because if we don't create margin with our time and our space externally, we will never have the capacity to create it internally. You know, one of the most common patterns that I see in therapy is that our lives are just simply too big. I often tell my clients, the life that you want to live, the one that you think you're already living, actually takes way more time and energy than you think it does. It would be like this. Imagine winning $500,000 in the lottery and then thinking that you can turn around and buy a $500,000 house because of it. On paper, it adds up, but in reality, it doesn't. First, there are taxes and fees to consider, and then there's upkeep, right? Mowing the lawn, fixing the roof, paying for heat and air. The point is that the sticker price is never the real cost of something. And the same is true with our lives. The roles and tasks that we've been entrusted with as parents, spouses, friends, siblings, Christians, employees, leaders, they don't just take minutes on a calendar. They take intention, preparation, recovery, processing. And when we count all of those hidden costs, we realize that our lives are overstuffed. Now, truthfully, most of us can keep up that pace, at least on paper, but only if we neglect our souls, only if we keep doing and never make space for being. But if we want to be grounded, rooted, emotionally healthy, and spiritually alive while carrying all of those roles, then something has to give. That pace is just simply unattainable. We have to count the full cost of what we give our time, our energy, our focus to, and then we have to prune. Because if we don't, when our souls are starving at that pace, we will inevitably start to lean on quick fixes. In fact, there's a fantastic book called Dopamine Nation by Dr. Ellen Radcliff that explains why our lives feel so overloaded. She shows us how our brain's reward systems, the very pleasure centers that God designed to keep us alive, have been hijacked. Instead of giving us joy, they're actually creating more pain in the long run, more anxiety, more depression. Of course, the most obvious example is social media. Why slow down for a face-to-face conversation that can actually feed your soul when you could grab a quick, high-intensity dopamine hit by scrolling TikTok? But it's not just social media. We see it in our shopping habits, in our TV watching, in our food choices, even in the way that we pack our schedules and speed through our days. Our brains are addicted to the dopamine hits that come from novelty and convenience, but our souls are craving the kind of depth that dopamine hits can just never give us. Because here's God's design. He made us to find deep pleasure in ordinary, everyday gifts. The sweetness of an apple, the warmth of the sun on your face, a car ride with your kids, and the random hilarious conversations that pop up there, or a quiet moment of stillness with Him. But we are missing those moments. We're skimming the surface of life, chasing fast rewards while our souls long for the slow, steady pleasures of God's good gifts. You know, they've even done scientific studies on this. One that I remember compared 2 groups of people. They sent one group to an ice cream shop with 50 flavors, I'm assuming Baskin Robbins. And the other group, they sent to a little shop with only 3 flavors. Now, our modern logic tells us that the group with 50 flavors should be happier. Bigger is better, right? More options, more satisfaction. But do you know what they found? The people who went to the shop with only 3 flavors walked away more content and more satisfied with their choice. That's why pruning is so essential. Just like pruning a plant, it feels counterintuitive to cut back, but cutting back is the only way to make space for real growth, for real joy, for real peace. And the same is true in our lives. If we let everything in, not just every responsibility or task, but every convenience, every novelty, every cultural fad, we actually choke ourselves out. We crowd out the space that our souls need in order to flourish. Pruning is about drawing boundaries around your time, your attention, your very soul. It's saying no to something so that you can say yes to the most important thing, being near to God. So, brother friends and sister friends, start small. Taking the time and intention to figure out everything you need to prune from life would actually do the opposite of what we've been talking about today. But maybe start with just one thing. Take a deep breath and ask yourself this question. What is one thing, just one, that I could prune this week to make more space for my soul? Maybe it's scrolling for only 30 minutes at night. Maybe it's saying yes to one less commitment. Maybe it's putting your phone in a basket during dinner. Don't overthink it. Just notice what arises to the surface. That may be the Spirit's gentle nudge. And then commit to pruning just that one thing, just for this week to see how it goes. Create space, even a little bit, for nearness to God, because pruning is never about loss. It's always about making room for life to grow. Thanks for tuning in today. Stay with us for the next episode where we'll talk about another practical step toward being near to God. Until then, keep your heart set on things above.